Hello everyone, welcome to the Aussie Game Podcast where we talk all things Australian football. My goodness, there's so much to talk about this week. There is plenty of news happening domestically. Our Aussies are in action all across Europe and all across the world. And a couple of our Socceroos and Matildas received some great honours during the week. What about it, Mopper?
Absolute buffet smorgasbord, Chief. We've got a record of 18 players in the championship kickoff last night. We've got the young Matildas team in action in Asia. Socceroos recognised, as you mentioned, and Matildas nominated. Domestic news with Western United. And Chief, clear the front page of Fox Sports. Get Wrexham off. We have our own new star is born with a debut goal in the championship that we'll talk about at our introduction. Also, Chief, we've got plenty more to chat about, including Chief's Challenge, the survey run last week with different opinions and results. We look forward to talking through that one. And football is alive, my friend, and let's break it down and start off with the record number of 18 players in the championship.
Absolutely. What a great place to start, mate. And of course, the big news overnight is Adrian Segecic scoring the winner in Portsmouth 1-0 victory over Oxford United. A fantastic start to his Portsmouth career. We've been tracking his progress since his signing through the preseason. He's been getting plenty of game time, and we were really hoping that he'd have significant minutes, and we were really hoping he'd get a start, which he did overnight. And what a way to introduce himself again to the Portsmouth fans, picking up that goal. It was nice natural instinct from him following up Colby Bishop to slot that one home. Didn't he enjoy it? Didn't the fans enjoy it? And what a start to his Pompey career.
Yeah, super start from the former Sydney FC NPL and Sydney FC player. Yeah, 1 from 1, Chief. He's off. And as I said before, get him on the front page. This is something to talk about. A very exciting finish with a sharp finish there, as you said. And we sat here an hour before kickoff last night anticipating what Australian players would be in the Pompey side due to the large number of players playing for them. And we got our reward. Segecic got his reward and took advantage of it. And congratulations, young man. You've done an absolute great job, and we wish you all the best for remaining games. But he's got in there, Chief. He started, and we're debating that a couple of weeks ago. Where would he fit in this formation of 4-2-3-1? And he's done it, and he's got a debut goal. So onward and upward for Segecic, and get him on the front page because this is a good story to talk about.
And just to cover off the other boys at Portsmouth, so Thomas Waddingham came on late. Hayden Matthews was an unused sub, and Jacob Farrell, unfortunately, didn't make the matchday squad. But just back to Segecic briefly, he has to be in that Socceroo squad for September now, doesn't he?
Oh, he's made a huge statement. What a great start. Yeah, he's just got to keep fitting well, and I've no doubt Popovic's eyes, and he would have had a large smile on his face. So, yeah, let's hope there's bigger things to come, and hopefully he can make that senior debut. He's been capped at 23, so we'll see if he can break into that squad against New Zealand or America or Canada that are coming up. All right, Chief, what else you got for the Australians? There was a lot more action overnight, and there's a lot more to come. But let's break it down. Give us an update and news from last night. You've been working hard, so give us the feedback. What do we got?
Yeah, mate. Oh, it was really actually fun to track all the players in action as we record on a Saturday night, and then into Sunday morning. But Nestor Irankunda also made his debut for Watford. He got 27 minutes off the bench in a 1-0 loss to Charlton. So that was expected for him to come off the bench. And yeah, I didn't see him with the way he was tracking through preseason, and because he came into Watford a little bit late, I expected him to come off the bench. Mixed reports from the fans. Some thought, or most thought he was pretty good actually. It was one or two negative comments I saw. But look, he's just going to keep building into his time at Watford. But exciting to see him playing again at that top level. Also in the championship, Lewis Miller, he made his debut for Blackburn Rovers, got 29 minutes off the bench in their 1-0 loss to West Brom. Saw a few highlights and images from the match. He finished with a bandage on his head, so no doubt a very physical and combative performance there from Lewis Miller. He did join Blackburn during the week on a 3-year deal with an option for a fourth. We've got a bit of a history of Aussies at Blackburn. Can you name a few of those Blackburn players, mate, that are Aussies?
Oh, Brett Emerton for sure, one of our favourites. Right wing back, right back. He's definitely a star. What else? What else have we got, Chief? Give us another couple of names.
Well, Lucas Neal, our Socceroo.
Oh, absolutely. He did start there, didn't he? Yeah,
Yeah.
before he moved on to West Ham, and yeah, had a great career there. So, geez, is there any more? Have I missed another one?
Missed a few. Vinny Grella.
Oh, Grella. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you got me there. I thought he played in Italy, but obviously was that before or after Italy?
No, just after he used time in Serie A, played a handful of games. What about Robbie Slater back in the day, mate?
You're right, Blackburn. Wow, it is an
Yeah.
Australian breeding ground. You're all over it today.
No, there was a fair few. There was a few older ones as well. I think John Filan. Yeah, he joins a pretty long line of players that have played for Blackburn. But good move for Lewis Miller, I think. Step up from the Scottish Premiership into the English Championship, and it's just going to depend on if he gets game time now, isn't it?
Well, the key was Blackburn did sell their two right backs in the off season. So one went to Charlton and the other one went to Middlesbrough, which opened up two right back positions at Blackburn, and they've signed two players there. And obviously, he'll be angling for a start. Obviously, he's just arrived, so he'll need a little bit more time and fitness to break into that formation. But I've got no doubt, looking at the two signings, that he will be signed for that position. So the rest will be up to him, and I think it's a great move. He's a great competitive. I think the championship suits his style. Physical, works hard. I think it's right up the championship's alley. He's going to get plenty of game time, and I think that's a great move coming over from Scotland, and well deserved too. He's worked really hard on his game. There's a few little things he's still got to work on, but I'm super excited to see him at that club, especially with those two moves that Blackburn already made. Doesn't make me nervous at all that he won't start. So I think he's found a plum.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Elsewhere in the championship, Sammy Silvera, he started for Middlesbrough. I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, how impressive he had been in preseason when I thought he might be out the door out there at Middlesbrough. So, yeah, credit to him, and he's worked his way into the starting lineup. So he played 90 minutes. Had a very interesting game. He picked up a yellow. And how about this for a start? He won the most duels with 11, also lost the most duels with 13, had the most tackles, and created the most chances in the game. So he was
Busy not.
certainly he was certainly in the thick of it, wasn't he? Uh,
That's how keen he was. So well done. Well, you've got to take your chance, don't you? And, yeah, look, oh, no fear. So well done to him. And obviously they had a win too, so it's even better.
yeah, and look at again, like we spoke about Segecic, but Silvera is one of those ones that was firmly in the Socceroos mix, hasn't had a look in, but again, like if he can get consistent game time with Middlesbrough and be in that mix, he might be in line for one of those kind of attacking 10 positions that Popovich likes to play. So be interesting times there for Silvera.
Yep, as long as he keeps playing, mate, he's going to put himself right up there. Also, news from Borough, obviously Tom Glover, unused sub, and Riley McGree, they're taking a cautious approach. We spoke about his injury prior. He's taken a cautious approach from the club, so they're taking it week by week. They could have risked him, but obviously they want him back fully fit, was the comments that I read. So plenty of time still for Riley McGree, but great start for the Borough boys, off with a win, which is the most important one with the 3 points.
Yep, Joe Gauci watch still not being used for Aston Villa. We spoke about this time and time again. Needs a move. We'll leave that one there for this week. Another one who probably needs a move, Nectar Triantis, not being used for Sunderland. I saw a report or a rumour last night that he's been linked with a move to West Brom. So he would add to our plethora of players in the championship, and I think that would be a good move. I mean, it's a good level for him. He's not quite ready for the Premier League. Up with Sunderland. So I think that'd be a good move. Step up from the Scottish Premiership, similar to Lewis Miller, where he was last year. And yeah, good chance to prove his worth there in the Championship. Of course, West Brom beat Lewis Miller's Blackburn overnight, so they've got off to a good start.
Yeah, West Brom, if it is true, it'd be tough to break into that squad, though. They've already kicked off and are doing well. So, Yeah, it'd be a challenge, but like you said, if maybe the level below in the championship will suit his opportunities a little bit more, but we'll have to watch this space because it's only rumoured at this stage. Over to QPR, Chief, another team that's heavily got Australians in. We're once again eagerly awaiting the Australians who would start, who would be on the bench, and who would be in the squad. What do you got news from QPR?
Yeah, so Keely Adamson got 23 minutes off the bench for QPR. Looked like he probably played at left back based on the substitutions that came in. Daniel Benny was an unused sub, and Jalen Pearman wasn't included in the squad. So all young boys there at QPR, so they're just going to have to bide their time and wait for their opportunities. Over at Coventry, Rafael Borges Rodriguez, he was in the match day squad but unused against Hull. They had a 0-0 draw. Again, like he's been pretty good in preseason, wasn't looking at much game time toward the back end of last season. So, again, hopefully he can get some more game time as the season progresses. Mas Luongo came on late for Millwall as they beat Norwich 2-1. Callum Elder, he was an unused sub for Derby. They conceded two late goals to go down 3-1 in their game overnight. Plymouth Argyle, Caleb Watts played a full game. They lost 2-0 to Bolton in League One. I was pleased to see this one as well overnight. Wigan, Tyrese Francois played a full game. Mentioned last week about how he is on the books at Fulham. And yeah, good to see him getting some game time, which is really impressive. And just to round out England, Gethin Jones played 90 minutes in their 2-0 away win over Barrow in League Two. And it was also good to see Jay Coleman get some time for Warsaw overnight too. So, yeah, plenty of Aussies in action across England, which is very pleasing to see. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of an ongoing event each Saturday night into Sunday morning, looking at all the progress of these players.
Yeah, the mixed results there for the Aussies, but as I said, it's only the start of the season. A few players have already just got to the club, so we look forward to following everyone's progress. It's time to go over to our second most heavily combated with, Chief, and that is in Scotland, where we've got plenty of Australians in Scotland overnight. And what do we got with the breakdown in the Scotland Premier League?
Well, I think touching firstly on some of our boys at the back end of last week who were involved in those Europa Conference League qualifiers, Zach Sapsford has had a huge influence through Dundee United's progress with those qualifiers. Of course, in the two-leg tie over Eunice Strassen, he had a goal and assist across those two legs. He did that in one game against Rapid Vienna, scored a very nice goal scoring across his body with Rapid Vienna to bring that back to a 2-2 result. So all to play for in the second leg for that one. But he certainly hit the ground running at Dundee United, a striker in some really good form. And just last weekend, he played against Falkirk and they had a 2-2 draw. So he's had a great start to his time at Dundee United. I wonder if he's in Popovic's thinking for that striking position as well. We don't have anyone really putting their hand up to claim that spot, so he could be right in the mix.
Yeah, I looked at his stats the other day. You know how much I love my stats, Chief, and he's been capped once at Australia under 17 level. Obviously, from Western Sydney, he played 28 games in the NPL and then 48 games in and scored 12 goals. So he's got a fair record. He's only young, so I think he's taken his opportunity over there in Scotland and got off to a cracking start. Be good to see some consistency there, and we'll watch his career and we'll follow it over in Scotland, whether he can continue to start and push on and see whether he's in that mix for September. It's definitely a debatable topic, and it's great to see that Popper's got a lot of options and some strikers are putting their hands up, mate. So we all wish him the best over there, and hopefully he can keep on improving.
Yep. And all Aussie clash last weekend as Hearts beat Aberdeen. So Cam Devlin played the full 90 for Hearts, and he had a really great game actually looking at some of the reports and absolutely tackling machine. Callum Neuenhoff missed that one through injury, unfortunately. On the other side of the pitch, Nicholas Milanovic played 81 minutes and was Aberdeen's best player according to some of the fans' comments on social media. Cassini Yangi played 62 minutes. He missed a few good chances. I have to say the fans were pretty scathing in their assessment of Cassini Yangi, but he is a confidence player and it might just take him a little bit of time, but I think if he can score one, he can go on a bit of a run of goals. So hopefully that's the case for Yangi, because we know when he's at his best that he can be really good. But yeah, he certainly missed one that he would have been disappointed with at least. So yeah, unfortunately that wasn't the best start for Yangi, but Milanovic has performed really well.
And over in Hibs, Chief, we've got Martin Ball, who bagged a brace midweek in the 100th and 101st goals for Hibs as they beat Petruzzi and Belgrade. And we talked about the challenges of Petruzzi and Belgrade in their European history, but they won 2-0. So that was a great result in Europa Conference League during the week in their qualifying first leg.
Yeah, 2-0 away as well. Like that's a huge result to bring back to Hibs for the second leg.
Yep, absolutely. And they won obviously 2-1 over Dundee FC so full game for Jack Iredale and 80 minutes for Martin Boyle. So they'll be backing it up hopefully midweek in the second leg at home for Hibs as they've had some really good start to their football campaign this year.
Yep, St Mirren. So Keanu Bacchus returned there during the week. He signed Mills at Mansfield Town last season, so now makes 13 Aussies in the Scottish Premiership. So 6 groups of 2 across multiple clubs, and then Keanu Bacchus, St Mirren. So we're guaranteed to have a potential Aussie versus Aussie clash every single week in the Scottish Premiership, which is really exciting. So Bacchus went straight into the starting lineup for St Mirren. They played Motherwell. He got 90 minutes. On the other side of the pitch, Johnny Kutrumbis started for Motherwell but came off injured, unfortunately, and Stamatolopoulos played 19 minutes off the bench. So heaps of Aussies in action in the Scottish Premiership. And lastly, just around that competition off, Livingston, who of course got promoted out of the Scottish Championship last season, they beat fellow promoted side Falkirk 3-1. Ryan McGowan played a full game and Teddy Yengi got 23 minutes off the bench. So strong start for Livingston, being the promoted team. They've picked up 4 points from their first 2 games. And as you said, from time to time up at the Scottish Premiership, looks like it's going to be a really tight race, probably outside of Celtic this season.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more depth this year, and it is building. We've seen in the past so many blowouts, but I really think every team can challenge each other. Look, not to the level of where Celtic's at, but I still think you've seen the sides against Celtic be competitive, and I think you'll see that going forward. There's some good depth, and it's great to see so many Australians involved. Just a note, BN Sports is where you'll probably need to be if you want to follow the Australians this year live. Obviously, they've got the Championship and the Scottish Premiership. So if you are interested in following the Aussies live, we had the pleasure of going. We're on tour at the moment. We had the pleasure of going to one of Brisbane's pubs last night where Southampton were playing Wrexham. And there was a lot of Southampton fans at that venue cheering on their team. So if you do want to watch them, the BN Sports is where to go to watch most of the Australians this year.
The Dutch Eredivisie is on ESPN, I believe. The other leagues that be in sports, I think we saw it advertised last night.
Bundesliga.
Yeah, Bundesliga. So we've obviously got Casey Boss over there. We've also got our boys at St. Pauli, Jackson Irvine and Connor Metcalf. So look, plenty of options depending on who you want to follow through Europe. But yeah, exciting times for a lot of our Aussies over there. Let's jump across to Denmark. So Mohamed Toure played 75 minutes and scored a match-winning penalty in their 1-0 win over Silkeborg. Brother Musa Toure wasn't named in the squad. Paul Izzo and Oliver Jones continue to miss through injury. But we spoke about Sapsa before, about strikers putting their hand up. Mo Toure, another one. He's in some good form up there at Randers, and he was impressive when he played for the Socceroos against Saudi Arabia. So another potential Aussie putting their hand up for that striking position.
Yeah, well, we did see that we spoke a lot about the 20s Asia Cup victory, and we've seen the 23s in the friendlies, how much potential we've got underneath. So probably a year or two ago, we'd be concerned in this position, but mark my words, there's plenty around, Chief, and they're hitting form, which is fantastic. What about Austria Vienna, Chief? We've got another Aussie striker over there, Noah Bodic. What have you got on his report during the week?
Yeah, as you said, another striker playing at a top club over in Europe. So yeah, Bodic, he's Austria Vienna. They've got some work to do in their Europa League Conference League qualifier. They lost 4-3 to Banik Ostrava. Bodic got 14 minutes off the bench, but wasn't able to influence the game, unfortunately. He also, since we've last recorded, he's played for Austria Vienna. He got 14 minutes off the bench in their result against Grazer AK, which was a 2-2 draw. On the other side of the pitch, Jacob Italiano, he started, had a pretty good game, completed the most dribbles, had the most tackles, won the most duels in the match. So he had a good performance there. Unfortunately for Italiano, not him personally, but his side had a shocker overnight, and they lost 5-0 to Salzburg. So Italiano played 84 minutes in that one. So certainly not the best result for them. Elsewhere in Austria, Jed Drew, another match winner, similar to Segecic. He scored the winner in a 1-0 victory over BW Lin. So he played 81 minutes. So great to see Jed Drew fulfill some of that potential. He is still very young. He always had the pace and the athleticism, but good to see him adding some goals to his game as well.
Former Macarthur FC player, is that right, Chief, from the Australian A-League?
That's the one.
Yes, nice. Good on you, mate. Well done. 1-0. Our strikers are on fire. What a great weekend. And don't worry about Noah Burdage, Austria Vienna, Chief. They'll come back and they'll smash Ostrava there. Don't worry about that. They'll get through. And, well, some exciting news from Netherlands, Chief. We've talked about Geordie Boss's move there last week. He's been straight into the action, and he had an absolute cracker in the Champions League qualifier. Break it down, Chief. You showed me the highlights of the ball he put in the box. Absolutely sensational. Talk us through it.
Oh, mate, it was exciting to see. Man of the match performance, provided the assist for the winner. Jose Mourinho looking very glum on the bench for
Fenerbahce.
Fenerbahce. Thanks, mate.
Yes,
Thank you,
that's
Fenerbahce.
okay. You got to post that picture too because it's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, so good to see. Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen it, seek out the highlights. But yeah, beautifully floated ball. One of those ones where the defender thinks he can get it but just can't, and it just floats over his head, and the final players just run onto it and beautifully slotted that one home. So yeah, what a performance! Straight into the starting lineup, into the big Champions League qualifier, and yeah, huge for Geordie Boss, and yeah, really endearing himself. And we touched on last week, it's his boyhood club. Got the family lines in that one. So yeah, very exciting for Geordie Boss. And then yeah, before that he got a few minutes in their 4-0 win over Wolfsburg. That was a friendly game. And then overnight he played 28 minutes off the bench as Feyenoord beat Max Ballard's NAC Breda 2-0. And Ballard played 90 minutes as well. But just question for you, Mopper, on Geordie Boss, like how long has it been since we've had a player, an Australian player, having influence over the Champions League? And there's a few rounds to get through yet, but how good would it be to see Geordie Boss doing his thing on that big stage?
I'm trying to think, Chief. Is it Harry Kewell in the Champions League, or touch base? What do you got for me on that one? Is it?
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to go back and research, or maybe some of our listeners can throw us some names out there. But it is the fact that it's actually hard to think just shows how long it's potentially been. So yeah.
I'm probably showing my age, but I remember shorter. But that was the old Europa League, yeah. So that was when Fulham made their run to the cup. So we've had a couple of players be successful in Europe. So hopefully Geordie Boss, yeah, Champions League though. Well, wow, what a step. They do have to go away though to Fenerbahce, which will be an almighty task. But yeah, please see that photo, and we wish Geordie Boss all the best. No doubt he'll start again midweek, so we'll be excited about that one. I think it's on Wednesday or Thursday morning Australian time. Other Dutch news, Chief. We've got Den Haag. We're at 66 minutes for Cameron Pepion in ADD Den Haag's 3-2 friendly loss to Olympiacos. In Belgium, Ryan Teague was an unused sub for KV Mechelen's 1-0 win over Westerlo. That's a little bit of concern, Chief. He's gone over there recently, Ryan Teague, so hopefully he gets some more time.
I think it's going to be hard for him to crack it there. Like, I think it's just a competitive level, but he's a good player, and I think he'll get his opportunity, and he just has to take it. So he has been over in Europe before, came back to Melbourne Victory for a bit, so he knows what it's all about. But we've seen the great composure that he has on the ball and his ability to break up play. So he's a quality player. I think I mentioned this last week that a fan was surprised that he went to that club because they're strong in that centre midfield position, but he just has to buy his time, and he'll be okay.
Love the trust. Good luck to Ryan. We look forward to future endeavours with him. Switzerland, Liam Chipperfield with 24 minutes off the bench in Sion's big 4-0 win over Laguna. So that's Scotty Chipperfield's boy. Hungary, Fenerbahce played out 0-0 draw with Legretz Rizgard in the Champions League qualification. This is another Aussie that potentially hasn't started yet, but Daniel Zani was not included in the matchday squad. But he did get 6 minutes off the bench in their overnight league win 4-1. So hopefully he can crack some more time, probably just building up the fitness and trying to settle into that squad. So potentially two players fighting out for Champions League qualification there. So we'll follow that very closely. And
Yeah, the Azani one's an interesting one, isn't it? Because yeah, we thought making that move to Hungary raised some eyebrows certainly, and we thought could be an opportunity for him to get some game time. He was linked to some other moves around the UK, but he's chosen Frank Barros. So yeah, be interesting to see how that one progresses. Robbie Keane's their manager over in Hungary. So yeah, obviously an attacker of note. So good one for Azani to be learning from as well.
yeah, definitely. Hopefully we can get some more football. You want to give us a breakdown in Croatia, Chief? Hadžić Split has come from behind with two second half goals, allowing them to get past Dinamo City 2-1. We've got a couple of players there. Break it down for us.
Yeah, that's also part of these Europa Conference League qualifiers. So yeah, good result for Split to get over Dinamo City. In that one, Anthony Kalic and Fran Karadzic both started and were substituted in the 59th and 85th minute respectively. So yeah, and before that, last weekend, just after we recorded, Fran Karadzic popped up for the winner in their 2-1 defeat of NK Istra 1961. So yeah, what a way for Karadzic to introduce himself to those Hajduk Split fans, and they were absolutely going off. So yeah, Anthony Kalic also played 84 minutes in that one. So our boys in Croatia doing really well, and their Europa Conference League, well, all those second legs of the Europa Conference League qualifiers and the Champions League qualifiers will be played midweek this week. So yeah, exciting things to look forward to. Up in Norway, I was surprised to see this one, but very pleased. Nick D'Agostino got his first minutes since April with 10 minutes off the bench as Viking lost 3-1 in the league. So great to see D'Agostino back to some match minutes. And Gianni Senses, he's still injured, but hopefully he's not too far away as well.
And in Sweden, Chief, we had a debut in the women. Courtney Nevin debuts for Malmo in a 1-0 win. And Jada Wayman keeps a clean sheet for AIK against Christian Stards, with Amy Sayer playing the full 90 and Remy Simpson playing 26 off the bench. So go the girls, they're on fire. Over in America, Chief, where the competition's rife, New York City FC had a 2-1 loss to Talaka in Leagues Cup, where O'Neill, who's obviously cemented in there for a while, played full 90 minutes. And North Carolina Courage, which is the home of Courtney Vine, got some minutes off the bench in a 2-1 loss. In Mexico, our World Cup co-host.
I thought I'd throw that one in there because you missed them being a World Cup co-host last week. So I just wanted to remind you that we shouldn't leave Mexico and Canada out of the World Cup hosting.
Don't forget, we do have the survey results from this week coming through. So 1-0 to you there, but we'll even it up quite evenly with Aaron Mott back post header there, 1-1. But that's to come. Don't spoil the rest of the show. Mexico World Cup co-host, as you rightly pointed out, Chief, Emily Gilniak's having a ball over there with a hat-trick. That's a second hat-trick with a 5-0 win over Peluba. So she's obviously having fun in Mexico. The weather must be good over there. Japan, Cerezo Osaka, Arthur Papa's team knocked out the cup in Japan in the round of 16, but they remain 11th in the league. But he got manager of the month a couple of months ago and is still doing well. And we were anticipating this one all last night. We did report that the Shanghai Derby was on last week, and what a cracker. They went up Shanghai Port 2-0. Shanghai Shenhua come back to score a goal, but it wasn't enough. And Kevin Muscat, Shanghai Port claimed 2-1 and moved within 1 point at the top of the table in China, with now 4 teams all within touching distance of that title, and they do all play each other in the remaining 10 matches. So what competition. And Muscat's going for, I believe, Chief, 3 in a row as we looked up last night. So that would be a hell of a story, but he's still got 10 to go to make that historic treble.
And what's your Kevin Muscat on the Rangers radar update, mate? They had a good result overnight, didn't they?
They had a 1-1 draw and a man sent off. So Rangers fans, although they did have a good midweek Champions League win, I don't think Rangers fans will be waking up very happy this morning. So that's 2 draws in their opening campaign. So look, I don't like to talk about people losing their jobs early in the piece, but Kevin Muscat has been linked to Rangers for a couple of years now without getting to that final stage. But it's one of his former clubs, and no doubt we'll just watch that progress. Kevin Muscat certainly made a name for himself in Asia following the pathway of Ange. So, look, I'm sure there'll be plenty more offers other than Rangers on the table if he can get that treble. And even if he doesn't, I still think he'd have plenty of offers. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And it's probably the pioneer of Australian coaches at the moment, with Ange obviously taking a well-deserved break, waiting for opportunities coming up.
All right, that's our wrap of all our Aussies in overseas actions. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to talk international football with some huge honours for our Matildas and former Socceroos. We'll be back in a sec. Thanks for listening to the Aussie Game podcast. If you enjoy our content, we'd really appreciate you giving us a rating or a review on your preferred podcast platform. And if you do know of any Australian football fans that might enjoy it as well, sharing the podcast would mean a lot to us. All right, let's get back to the show. Okay, Melpa, let's talk international football. Huge honour for our Matilda's captain, Steph Catley, during the week as she was nominated for the Women's Ballon d'Or. What an absolutely brilliant way to cap the best season for Steph Catley. Of course, she was part of that Champions League winning team with Arsenal, and what a huge credit to Steph Catley.
Yeah, she's 138 cap Matilda. She ranks 5th in Matilda's caps, played for Arsenal 82 times, won the Champions League for women in an absolute superstar performance. Revolutionary change from left back to centre back. The coach made the change halfway through the year in January, and which has led them to a decisive Champions League win. And a lot of credit goes to her centre back partner, and she was also nominated, and both girls are nominated. And obviously, what an absolute huge representation just to be in that picture. I think it's huge recognition for a stellar career. She's been absolute professional. And look, we wish her all the best. There's a lot of good players in there, but I think the fact that she's got nominated is a win already. So she should be super proud of herself and Australia's captain. She's an absolute superstar, Chief, and such a role model for young girls and girls in around football community. So fantastic effort from Steph, and well done. And we wish her all the best in the process.
Yeah, role model for young boys and young girls as well. And yeah, as I said, capping an absolutely amazing season in that Arsenal team and has performed really well for the Matildas over many, many years as well. So she becomes the third female to be nominated for the Women's Ballon d'Or after not Ellie Carpenter. I thought Ellie Carpenter may have been nominated before, but she hasn't. Sam Kerr has been nominated a fair few times, and Hayley Razzo has also been nominated in the past as well. So yeah, we wish Steph Catley all the best. Hopefully, yeah, she can go on and win it. But as you said, pretty stiff competition. But just to be nominated is a fantastic achievement for Catley. And we were debating during the week what that means. You know, she's been nominated as a centre back in this Women's Ballon d'Or. But what does that mean then for the Matildas if we were to think about shifting her from that left back spot into the centre back? What are your thoughts, mate?
Well, it like we said, depends on Joe's formation. She could definitely play on the left side of a back three, or she could play a centre back next to Kennedy or Hunt. Look, she's going to be an added strength no matter where she plays. So just being on the pitch in that back four really makes us strong. Look, my personal thoughts is if Joe was going to do that, I think you would have seen that in the friendlies that we've had. I think Joe will probably stick to the back four and probably still play Steph out there, but depends on how Kennedy and Hunt go this year with their respective clubs. But it's definitely an option. It gives us some flexibility, and there is some left back talent coming through. So maybe something to trial in the next game that's been just announced against Wales. What are your thoughts in the left back, centre back position? because I think she'd do a fantastic role in either.
I have no doubt that she could play left centre back. My question really is what happens to that left back spot then? Do we become weaker by playing her in the centre back spot because we haven't got, I don't think any of our current left back options are as good as Steph Catley there. So then what happens with that left back spot if we do bring her in? I think we've seen Joe, his want to have ball players in the team. So Steph would certainly tick that box for us. But you've got the likes of potentially Charlie Grant playing out there, Courtney Nevin, Jamila Rankin. But I don't know whether they're not going to offer what Catley does. And I just wonder if that actually makes us stronger or whether having Catley out there on the left is a better balance for the team. She, of course, has that great link up and combination with Caitlin Ford down that left as well, that Arsenal combination. So again, whether that takes away from what she's able to do. Good headaches to have for Joe Montemurro. And we've spoken before about the centre back options as well. You know, are Kennedy and Hunt walk up starters, or are some of these other younger players starting to push their claim for those spots as well? So interesting decisions for Joe Montemurro coming up.
Yeah, I think it's risk or reward, and I can't see him changing too much. But it might be experimented after Asia Cup because it might be her future in her next couple of years as the speed and that diminishes and the more ball playing, which she loves. And if you've seen against the Matildas in the friendlies, their biggest weakness was playing out of the back. We weren't very strong and we lost a lot of possession, which she would obviously fix that ultimately and possess the ball much more. And help us just play a little bit quicker as well. So look, it's definitely a great opportunity to explore, but I think it'll be after Asia Cup. I don't think it'll be before. I think it's too much of a risk. Like you said, there are some challenges there in that left back depth spot, but there are some girls coming through. It would be good though to see, I believe, personal thought, to see the back three in the future because I just think it'll open up our wing backs. I just believe Ellie Carpenter would be an absolute dynamite in that wing back position, which could potentially make us play a back three and take the heat off that left back position and just play those natural wing backs. The only thing is then it might play with that 10 role around Fowler and vice versa. It might counteract that. So, but I'd love to see us try the back three and I'd love to see the wing back system work because Ellie Carpenter, I think it'd suit her better. But again, it might hurt us more further up the pitch, whether you play that two pivot or one pivot. So it's an interesting topic to talk about. Love to hear on this one where you think, because look, no mistake, that move that Arsenal made, putting her centre back, won them the Champions League, and they clearly stated that after that cup win. So that's a huge statement. So future may be in that centre back role.
Yeah, it's a good balance that the Matildas need to find as well between games where they are going to dominate the ball, have a lot of possession. What does the formation look like in that respect? And then games where we play against some top European position or European opposition, or potentially like a Japan in Asia, where we are maybe not going to dominate the ball. And then what does that look like? If you can find a formation that fits both, or whether you have to be flexible within that, I'm not sure. Maybe even, we've seen in the past where, that 6-year-old drops in between the centre backs to make it back five. And if that could happen with like a Heatley or something like that, someone who's versatile to play both of those positions potentially. So yeah, as I said, lots of good options for Joe Montemurro to look at going forward, and an opportunity where he is going to have a look at some of those players. He's in a friendly that was just announced during the week. So Wales hosting Australia. So that one's going to be on Sunday, the 26th of October in Cardiff. So yeah, another good opportunity for Joe Montemurro to have a look at some of our Matildas as they take on Wales.
Yeah, look, the good thing is it is in Cardiff, which is fantastic. So less travel time for the girls. If we quickly look at Wales, ranked 32 in the world, they did qualify for Euros, which has just been completed. They did get pumped by England 6-1, France 4-1, and Netherlands 3-0, but they're three quality oppositions that they've had to play. They are emerging, and I think it'll be a nice test for us over in Europe. There is a second team rumoured but not confirmed yet later in the window. But I think that's a great stepping stone to get Wales over there in Cardiff. I think that'll do the girls really good just to keep building towards the Asia Cup.
Yeah, and for all our Aussies who haven't kicked off their season, I believe the WSL starts in about 3 weeks' time or so. So, exciting to see some of our players back in action. Of course, we saw some training photos of Sam Kerr back in training, looking quite sharp. So, how does she then integrate back into that Chelsea team, and how she's going to look? I'm sure that Joe would want to see her in camp in that October window as well. So, exciting times for the Matildas coming up.
And let's move on to another recognition for an Australian Socceroo, this time in Mark Schwarzer, inducted into the Sports Australia Hall of Fame. What an absolute honour that has been. And wow, did you see that list of Hall of Fame, Chief? There's some names in that from the football fraternity. And I just want to note that when I looked into this further, Mark Schwarzer was the first non British man to play more than 500 EPL games when representing Bradford City, Middlesbrough, Fulham, and Chelsea and Leicester City. What an absolute record that is, the first non British man. And look, he's also contributed after his career as well, obviously with commentary and Optus and podcasts and all early information. His really love of football stands out. And in his comments, he said, "My dad's love of football was infectious, then throughout my professional career." And he had some lovely words about his wife, just thanking her. Without her, I wouldn't have had the success that I've had. She's been a constant and unwavering in the support of my career from those moments of extreme doubt in my ability to succeed, but beyond, obviously, on and off the pitch. She's the problem solver. And just that, once again, that infectious greatness from his family and support that he had in unwavering career that obviously, when you go through the moments of being a professional sportsman, the people close to you really got him through. And in a last quote said that my wife has single-handedly almost brought up my two wonderful children, who I'm very proud of. I owe her so much. So beautiful words from Mark Schwarzer. Congratulations. That's an absolute honour and a privilege. And he joins some absolute prestige of football fraternity in there. What are your thoughts on that one, Chief?
He's a fantastic keeper, and as people probably know by now, I'm a Fulham supporter. So, seeing him on the books of Fulham for all those years, and he was such a brilliant keeper for Fulham. He was such an integral part of our Europa League run when we made the final. Unfortunately, lost that one, but he was absolutely huge for us, and he's held in such high regard by Fulham fans. He had a fantastic career in Europe. I think he started at Marconi Stallions in Australia before making the move overseas. I believe I recall seeing a documentary about his time in Germany and how hard he had to work just to get his opportunity, and then he got his move over to the UK. And then, yeah, he played for Bradford City, had a great career at Middlesbrough. I just mentioned Fulham, and then towards the latter stages of his career through Chelsea and Leicester City. Let's not forget his feats for the Socceroos as well. Some huge saves throughout his time. The Socceroos, probably the most memorable. And you and I were there, fortunate enough to be there in the stadium that night.
Top of the world, Chief, we were.
Yeah,
Top of the world.
top of the world, 2005, when he pulled out those massive saves against Uruguay in the penalty shootout. Everyone, well, not everyone, I suppose, but a lot of the memories are of Johnny Aloisi's penalty going in, but Johnny doesn't have that chance if Schwarzer doesn't pull off those huge saves. The one where he's going down and he keeps that top hand up and a strong hand. That's an incredible save, and that got us to the World Cup. First time in 32 years. So
Iconic memories, Chief. And for the Australian Socceroos, he was capped 109 times. So legacy lives on and fantastic career.
yeah, he's absolutely massive, and even I think his humility, even when Matty Ryan was coming through and the decision was made to make Matty Ryan the number one keeper. And I think there was kind of thoughts and rumors around him being a bit, not liking that decision very much. But I think in interviews in latter years or years in the future, where he's spoken about how he kind of dealt with, losing his number one spot to the up and coming Matty Ryan, and just how he's taken that. And as you said, like what he's contributed to the game through his coverage through Optus Sport and bringing the game back to Australia. We saw some great interviews with Ange Postecoglou throughout last season. So he's really been a great contributor to the game that's given him so much as well. So yeah, huge credit to Schwarzer being inducted into the Sport Australia Hall of Fame. Well done.
And these are the Australian footballers, Chief, that are in the Australian Sports Hall of Fame. Have a listen to these names. Ray Bartz, Tim Cahill, Harry Kewell, Joe Marsden, Alfred Quill, Cheryl Salisbury, who's the second most capped Matilda. Mark Schwarzer now joins them. Mark Viduka, Johnny Warren, and Peter Wilson. What a lineup of
Mate,
royalty football.
that's an absolutely illustrious list, and they've all contributed in lots of different ways as well. You know, you mentioned Johnny Warren there, what a pioneer and advocate for Australian football on the pitch when he was part of that Socceroo setup, and then such an advocate for the game. And unfortunately, we lost him far too early, Johnny Warren. But he's famously quoted as saying, "I told you so," in terms of, the success that the Socceroos have had. So, what a list of fantastic Australian footballers that we have there. And look, wouldn't be too surprised if we have a few more added as the years go by.
Yep, congratulations, Mark Schwarzer, and lovely tribute to your family as well. Absolute superstar, mate. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to hearing more out of Mark Schwarzer in the future as he grows the game and continues to love the game that gave him so much. So well done, Schwartzy. Absolute superstar. And I will never forget those moments you've given us, especially the one 2005 that sent the Socceroos on a path that we look back on now, and it was the start of history. So well done, son. Good work.
All right, mate. Let's go to some of our young Matildas who are in action. So let's start with our under 23s. They unfortunately lost 2-1 to Myanmar the other night. The time wasting watching this was very frustrating. But look, Myanmar deserved they earned the right to do that time wasting, and throughout the latter stages of the game, they scored 2 goals. The second one, bad mistake from our young Matildas, but they got back into the game and they had plenty of chances actually to get something out of the game. So as much as the time wasting was frustrating, it was disappointing that we weren't able to get a result there. I did see some reports that we only landed there a day before the game, so preparation probably wasn't ideal. But there's a couple more opportunities within this to get out of this group and progress through the tournament. So we'll see how that goes. One player in particular that impressed me was Alana Jensevsky. She came off the bench. She's at Melbourne Victory. She provided plenty of threats, great left foot, some great deliveries from free kicks as well. So, look, it's good to see this group progress. We've spoken in the past about this group doesn't really have any kind of significant tournaments or anything to qualify for. It's more of a development into the Matildas team, and hopefully they can keep progressing through this tournament. They're playing the Philippines tonight as we record. You'll likely know the result by the time you listen to this, but they'll be hoping to bounce back against the Philippines.
Yeah, look, don't write off this country. They're in the 50s in the senior side, so they're no mugs. So I know we're disappointed in the loss, but probably preparation would probably play a huge part. But they can bounce back tonight against the Philippines and just kick on. As you said, you've covered the game well with your commentary. So I just think onwards and upwards, it's a good tournament just to get them game time and play against these oppositions. Because again, in Asia, when you qualify, you're going to have to deal with all different situations. So that they've got their taste of it. So hopefully now they can just rebound. Chief, we're going to go to the 20s. So the 20s are top of their group in the most important one, which is the Asia Cup qualifiers. They sit top of the group with Chinese Taipei, but the young Matildas has obviously got a heavy goal difference. And that's due to a 14-0 win over Tajikistan. Sky Helmrich and Santa Sevgeski both got hat tricks and were on fire. Sky just was a menace, and Sylvester Silveska, they were just so hungry, weren't they? It was great to watch. And then with 9 changes in the second game, just to freshen it up, they played Palestine, which they won 3-0, scored one early, but took some time to put them game away with 2 late goals. And they face in their third game Chinese Taipei midnight tonight for the top of the group gets automatic Asia Cup qualification. So very important game tonight. They need to win or draw this game to get through. And then obviously job done for the under 20s in a very crucial qualifying campaign. So well done to the girls over there. We did see a little bit of football streamed, but it was the highlights that we've seen were good. I think the girls are looking sharp. There's some really great talent there. and I think onward and upwards for the 20s. Any feedback from you around their performance?
No, I love seeing Sky Helmerick just absolutely rip in, and she is a natural goal scorer. She is so hungry to score. She was just attacking everything, and often it was 7-0 at half time in that 14-0 win. Look, clearly a golfing class between us and Tajikistan, but sometimes in those kind of 7-0 halftime, it ends up being like an 8-1 in the end. But yeah, no, the hammer was certainly down, and they're looking to rack up a big result. And as you said, now we go into that game against Chinese Taipei. I think they've won 4-0 and 3-0. So clearly, even a draw will get us through because we've got superior goal difference. So that's a big advantage for us going into that game. And look, with the quick turnarounds, there's always going to be lots of changes in these games. But the most important thing is that we qualify. If we finish first, it's automatic qualification. If we're one of the best second place finishers, which we should be based on results so far, but hopefully we don't have to get to that, we go through a further round of qualifying. But it's important for these under 20s to keep qualifying for these tournaments, and it's exciting to see the likes of Helmerick and Steveska in plenty of goal scoring form. So it's really great.
Yep, and that's for this qualification tournament, obviously for the Under-20 Women's Asia Cup in Thailand in 2026. So good luck to the girls tonight. Chinese Taipei are ranked 42 on the senior side, so they will be a challenge as they are also undefeated. But no doubt, if they show the hunger that we've shown all tournament, we can get up and get a win there. So good luck to the girls tonight. All right, Chief, let's move on to the under-17s, both women and men. They've both had important draws during the week with their qualification process.
Yeah, so let's start with the girls. The Combat Junior Matildas have been joined into Group E for the under-17 Women's Asian Cup qualifiers. So they take place in October 13 to October 17 later this year in Singapore. So Australia has been drawn in a group with Singapore and Northern Mariana Islands. So yeah, they'll need to get through that group to qualify for the Asian Cup. So yeah, important games coming up in October for this group. So good to see this group coming together and looking to qualify for that tournament. We've obviously just had the Emerging Matildas Championship, so no doubt there'll be some that have been identified through that'll come through for the under 17. So really good to see that, and we wish them all the best. It's going to be a busy time, isn't it? Like September, October. There's international FIFA windows. There's going to be the under 20 Men's World Cup. Plenty of qualifiers. Lots happening in the international space.
Yeah, it's important to note the 17s have to qualify because obviously last year in the World Cup in 2024, we lost all three games. So there are other Asian nations that have automatically qualified due to their progress in that. So we're in the qualification process to qualify for these cups due to that performance. So we've got some work to do to get the 17s through here, but also give them some competitive football so we can obviously improve in these tournaments so we don't have to go for these qualifying tournaments. What about the men's, Chief? They've got a bit of a tougher draw.
Yeah, we looked at this the last couple of days, didn't we? So announced during the week. So Australia, the under-17 men's, they've been drawn in Group E. So their fellow group members are Iraq, Philippines, Jordan, and Bhutan. So yeah, their qualifiers are going to take place later this year in November, between the 22nd and the 30th of November. It's a tough group as far as I can see. We looked at kind of all the groups, and I think we've got the toughest. And we are going through this phase I just spoke about with the women's because we weren't in the top 8, didn't make the quarterfinals for the last under-17s tournament. So really is valuable getting through these tournaments and progressing so we're not having to constantly go through these qualifiers. But look, it's going to be a pretty tough assignment, but hopefully we can progress.
Yeah, it's important to note that the Asia Cup for next year is in Saudi Arabia. It kicks off in May. The top 8 of that tournament will obviously go through to the FIFA Under-17s World Cup, which is also in Asia and Qatar in 2026. So important process and time coming up in these tournament qualifiers. So we have to get through to obviously make it then to Saudi Arabia. Then the work starts again to get through to the World Cup in Qatar in 2026, which is next year. So lots happening in World Cups next year and Asia Cups for our nation.
Yeah, don't forget too that those games for the Socceroos against New Zealand are less than a month away, I believe. So those squads are going to be announced pretty soon. And as we touched on with all our Australians playing overseas, there's going to be some hot competition and interesting decisions for Popovich to make for our Socceroos as they come through. So very interesting times for a lot of our national teams.
Yep, but exciting nonetheless. And as I said, tonight's our next opponent. The under-20s kick off first. Under-23s kick off first against the Philippines, followed by at midnight the under-20s who play Chinese Taipei. So good luck to the girls and good luck to the future tournaments coming up in September and October.
All right, that's our wrap of national teams. And we'll be back shortly to discuss everything that's happening in the A-Leagues back at home. If you like our content, why not give us a follow on the socials where we provide lots of updates between podcast episodes. We're most active on Instagram, BlueSky, and X. So search the Aussie Game and you should be able to find us. All right, let's get back into it. Okay, Mopper, let's turn our focus to news on the domestic front and the big news that's come out this week. A-League Club Western United have license withdrawn. So it all broke on Friday. Let's read a bit from the Guardian's Jack Snape in the article that came out on Friday afternoon. So financially beleaguered club Western United has had its licence withdrawn as part of Football Australia's regulatory process, a step which threatens the outfit's existence just 3 years after it won the A-League Men's Championship. An independent board set up to assess each club against the licensing criteria decided on Thursday Western United has not met its requirements. It means the club, which is adamant the sale to US investors is imminent, is blocked from competing in FA-sanctioned competitions, including the A-Leagues. Football Australia issued a statement on Friday afternoon. Football Australia is able to confirm that the First Instance Board, FIB, an independent body established under the National Club Licensing Regulations, has convened and determined that Western United FC has failed to meet the criteria required to be granted an A-League licence. As such, Western United's FC's licence has been withdrawn effective immediately. In a statement, the club said it was bitterly disappointed by the decision taken by FA and the FIB and that would be exercising its right to appeal the decision with faith of a positive outcome as the sale of the club and injection of capital from new investors KAM Melbourne continues to progress. So a very sad day in Australian football, very disappointing for all involved with Western United. What are your thoughts, Mopper?
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult situation to talk about because obviously it's only happened this week and there are appeal processes going on and more detail that will obviously come out in the next 8 days. So we'll get some more information on it. Look, as you rightly worded, the impacted people are Western United's fans, which we had 3,644 average attendance last year. The community, Wyndham, the plans that they've got down there is just on hold. We don't know how this is going to end up. Look, we're hoping that they can secure the right financial assistance to show Football Australia. And so we'll watch this space as it unfolds. But for the people and for the community, I think, look, we're all here for you and we're supporting you through obviously this really difficult time because everyone's in a bit of uncertain space. So we just need some clarity. I think we'll get that in the next week or two, hopefully, and everyone can work together for the right outcome. And obviously, we don't want to lose anyone. So the right outcome for us would be to see Western United get some security, but we're going to have to watch this space as this unfolds. We reported on it last week around the difficulties with the finances and the challenges that they were facing a few weeks ago. It's been ongoing until this is resolved or what could potentially happen. It's a real impact for the A-League. It's a real impact for everybody involved in football. So all we can do is send our best wishes, and hopefully there's going to be a process that involves all parties to resolve this matter, and then that way we can get some clarity. It is difficult for everybody, but as I said, our thoughts are with you.
Yeah, it's you really feel for the members, the fans, the staff, players, coaches, everyone that's involved on that level, and they would no doubt want some resolutions in this space because there's kind of they've got to think about things outside of football as well. So yeah, very disappointing. And it did look like that things were looking up. John Aloisi extending his contract, Ben Gariccio the same, bringing in Jaden Kaczarski. Looked like they were starting to turn the corner. But unfortunately, this news broke on Friday. So, yeah, we will wait to see what that appeal process brings. And then we'll keep everyone up to date as we look ahead in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone. Look, there's a lot of opinions out there and that, but we need to get the facts and we need to get some clarity. So I think hold this space, watch as it progresses. No matter what our emotions or personal feelings are on these matters, it's important that we let the process go through the due diligence so we can obviously get some clarity for everybody involved in Western United. And I think that's all they'll be seeking in this really uncertain terms for them. So again, for the Western United football family and team down there and the city, we wish you all the best in this next step and hopefully it can get resolved quickly.
Okay, mate, let's move around to a few more A-League clubs with some news. So, the other big story that broke on Friday is Zinedine Mishash, who has been released from Melbourne Victory on compassionate grounds. Big loss for Melbourne Victory, a really big loss for the A-League as well. Fantastic player, that ability to carry the ball forward, big, strong presence, but quick, technical, and he'll be a big miss for Melbourne Victory. But yeah, the A-League competition will be lesser because of him as well. The statement did say he's released on compassionate grounds, so we do hope everything is okay in his life, and yes, brings home sometimes these things that are much more important than football. So, yeah, big loss for the A-League, and yeah, sad to see him go. But also around Melbourne Victory, there's some rumours that Sebastian Esposito, who was part of that under-20 Asian Cup winning team, will be joining Melbourne Victory from Lecce, potentially a loan, potentially permanent move. So that would be exciting to see another one of our under-20 Asian Cup players coming back to the A-League before the World Cup at the end of this year. And also saw last night that Chris Donnell apparently played some minutes in one of their friendly games against Hume City. So he was the former Fulham under 21 captain last season. He was released by Fulham, but potentially we will see him in the A League before too long. So interesting times at Melbourne Victory.
Yeah, that's exciting for Chris Donnell. Hopefully, we can see him in the A League. What do you think? You're a Fulham fan, Chief. Any early thoughts on Chris Donnell if he obviously decides to join Victory?
Yeah, a centre midfielder, did provide some goals from time to time, so he has that in his locker as well. I heard a Fulham podcast a while ago, and they were talking about him being one of the breakouts from that. It was a pretty successful under-20s, under-21 team. They were right up at the top of all their leagues all the time, and he was obviously a big part of that. They were tipping him to be one of the breakouts coming into the first team, but obviously the Fulham hierarchy had different plans. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, they Melbourne Victory have lost Ryan Teague, so could he come in there, a bit of a like for like replacement? I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, interesting to see that he was playing there. I'm not sure if he's officially on trial or what's happening, but yeah, saw that reported last night. So very interesting.
Yeah, it could be a good pickup for Victory. They've got to get moving. Obviously, they've lost a couple of players. So, yeah, watch this space in the next week or two, and we'll give you an update if Chris Donnell moves to Victory or whether he's looking for some other opportunities. Chief, what about the Western Sydney Wanderers? Had a friendly during the week.
Yeah, they went down 1-0 to Indonesian side Persib Bandung. So yeah, they were over there in Indonesia as part of their pre-season preparations, but they'll be back in action in the Australia Cup in the coming week. So yeah, Wanderers building into their pre-season campaign. For MacArthur, we spoke about this last week actually, but it's become official. So Ji Dong Won, he's joined the Bulls after an impressive resume, having made over 100 appearances in the top tier of Korean football. He also played in the Bundesliga for several clubs, including Borussia Dortmund, and had a brief stint with Sunderland in the English Premier League. So brings a plenty of experience. We spoke last week about their options up front with Economides and Harry Sawyer, but I think 34 years old, Ji Dong-won. So, but yeah, bringing plenty of experience into their team.
Chief, MacArthur is still your tip for the Han Australia Cup too, so that'll just add more strength to their campaign. Although I'm tipping Western Sydney to overcome them in the Australian Cup, so we'll watch this space. But looks like they're building a very strong side out at MacArthur.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and because they won the Australia Cup last season, they'll be preparing for the AFC Champions League 2 as well. So his experience playing through Asia should be good for them in that upcoming campaign as well. And yes, MacArthur Bulls are my favourites to get all the way through and get through to another final.
Okay, Chief, you talked about Melbourne City and their youth against the in the Australian Cup. What are they doing to increase their experience? Looks like they've got a signing, Melbourne City.
Yeah, they've signed Takeshi Kanamori on a 2-year deal. So he brings over 230 games of J League experience. Still only 31, so I think he's going to offer plenty. They like when you look at their other foreign signings, Andreas Kuhn and Jonathan Cohen. Yeah, they've got some good experience to balance out a lot of that youth. We saw them go down to RP Leica in the not a cup set a few weeks back, but yeah, just bring a bit of experience in. You still got the likes of Andrew Naboot coming back from injury as well, so good balancing that Aurelio Vidmar is doing in his squad there. I think they're really pushing forward in their season. Probably have made the best signings or extensions in the off season, and looking to build on what they did in the A League last season.
Also, Chief, team in Asian Champions League, so they'll need to bolster their squad. Obviously, for that campaign, they'll have an exciting campaign. Hopefully, we'll see some Australian team, Melbourne City, representing Australia in the Asian Champions League, and hopefully can get a little bit further than our limited success in the last few years. But definitely building a very strong team.
I think it's really important, just to before you move on to the next point, because the Central Coast Mariners had an awful time in the Asian Champions League. They were well out of their depth last season. So I think we need our Australian team representing us in that Asian Champions League to be really competitive this season. And I think Melbourne City is a good fit for that. They obviously have the backing and they have the resources to be able to do it. So if they can be successful in that tournament, that's going to be good for us as a league to lift that profile a bit.
Yeah, I like your words. It's so important to get that exposure and play that high level of football as well to become a better and stronger team and club. And like you said, the exposure moves on to all clubs, not just Melbourne City. So will we move over to the ditch now, Chief, over the water and Auckland FC? We've got some men's A-League talk and some women's update on next season's trying to get a team in the women's league. What do we got updates there with Auckland FC?
Yeah, Lucky Brook, we mentioned him leaving Real Salt Lake last week, and it was rumoured that he was going to Auckland FC, so that's been made official this week. I saw a bit of a highlights package of Lucky Brook last time he was in the A-League, and he's certainly an attacking weapon that's going to be added to Auckland FC next year, so that's really exciting times for Auckland FC fans, and I think he'll come back, and good chance for him personally to reset his career, and also for Australian A-League fans to get reacquainted with him and yeah, what he can offer. So yeah, exciting pickup for Auckland FC. Similar to Melbourne City, they had a really successful season last season, and they're looking to build on that. And as you touched on with the women's team, I think is a bit up in the air as to whether they'll join the competition next season. It looks like they won't. I think there's kind of mixed reasons as to why that's not happening. We might not go into the full detail of that, but yeah, it's disappointing. For me personally, I think that part of every A League club and license, we should have both the men's and women's representation. We don't have that across every single club, but it would be great to see that synergy through every club. I think that would make the league even stronger.
Auckland FC certainly making some moves, aren't they, to push forward, Chief? They had an outstanding year last year, outstanding average crowd. They're making a real presence in the A-League and look forward to the day that they do get the Women's League up there as well, to obviously have all those ones going towards one vision. But certainly looking like a little powerhouse over there, Auckland, and they've definitely started off well last year and definitely got the right vision going forward for the women's football team. So watch this space. When that happens, I'm sure they'll get that across the line in years to come.
I
What
think what they did really well last season too was that they built right into the community. The signings they made, they were not just New Zealand players. A lot of them were from Auckland. They brought guys back who were playing overseas, and they made it a real community feel. They got the club to buy into it right from the start. It reminded me a lot of what Western Sydney Wanderers did when they first started. They held these fan forums and got everyone involved in the decision, and that's I think how they've got the community to buy into the team, and we did see those fantastic crowds all throughout the season. So yeah, they've definitely been a great addition to the A League and looking to build even more this season.
Well, the work and the reward was there. Average crowd last year was 18,101. Unbelievable, outstanding result, and well done to Auckland FC. Okay, Chief, we're going Sydney FC. What's happening, Sydney FC? I want to touch on before you get into them. They have 11 young Matildas and under 23 Matildas representing them in the girls over in the Asian tournaments at the moment. 11, Chief. So future looking bright for the women. What have we got for the men?
Well, before we go on to that one, we spoke a couple of weeks about how well the New South Wales teams did in the emerging Matildas championships as well, 15s and 16s, those age groups all doing well. So things are looking quite good for their pathways, aren't they? Um,
Definitely.
Yeah, so Sydney FC, Ryan Grant, we signed a 1-year contract extension that will see him remain at the Sky Blues until 2027. So he made his debut as a teenager in 2008. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Season 3, the A League back then.
Yeah, and he's just gone from strength to strength. He was a big part of that Socceroos squad for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The big favourite under Arnie, and we didn't have a lot of options at right backs, but he certainly did a good job for us in that time. So yeah, he's performed really well. He's obviously their club captain now. 17 seasons. He's been there, one club man. Yeah, you don't see that very often. Lee Broxham's probably the other one that comes to mind in terms of one club players that have had that kind of longevity. But 377 appearances for Sydney FC and counting. So well done to Ryan Grant. Yeah, another year after this season. So yeah, very well done to him.
And Sydney FC's midfield in the women's, Mackenzie Hawkesbury has penned a 1-year extension to her time in the Sky Blue. Our 2024-2025 Golden Boot winner joined the club as a 19-year-old in 2019 and has since gone on to make 98 appearances and become a household name in the A-Leagues. And with the Sydney FC team news, back to the men's, Harrison Devonish Mears will spend a couple of months sidelined after he went surgery on his ankle. The shot stopper ruptured his ankle ligaments in training prior to the clash with Western United in the Hahn Australia Cup and has since undergone a tight rope repair after suffering ankle syndesmosis. So I also seen today, obviously with the Hahn Australia Cup, Chief, a young goalkeeper from Helensburgh making his appearance too for the Sydney FC. So again, more youth coming through the ranks at Sydney FC. And
Yeah, Gus Wolf's in goal there for Sydney FC. So definitely with Devonish Mears out and Andrew Redmayne no longer at the club, looks like that's his spot to lose. So yeah, good. Another young keeper getting the opportunity in the A League, which is good to see.
And a shout out to Helensburgh on the south coast there, just past Waterfall. So well done to Helensburgh producing another great player. What about Newcastle Jets, Chief? The moving team, we believe, in the A-League this year, on the way up. What have we got on them this week?
Yeah, so talking about longevity with Ryan Grant, Cassidy Davis for their women's team, she's committed to a 13th consecutive season, which is just incredible. So, quote from Davis during the week was, "To be entering my 13th season with the Newcastle Jets, my hometown club, is something I'm incredibly proud of. This club means everything to me, the community, the fans, and the entire region. My passion for bringing a trophy home to Newcastle continues to grow every season. There's a great feeling around the club right now and what we're building towards under new leadership. I can't wait to get started, and I can't wait to see our fans get behind us again this year. So, I mean, that point around the great feeling around the club, I mean, that's probably something you say anyway when you extend your contract and you want to talk up the club. But we have that sense as well, don't we? That, and particularly being a homegrown product as well, really feels like they're starting to build something there. They did have a loss to Brisbane Roar yesterday in a friendly, but I think there's some real positive signs that Newcastle are going to keep improving this season.
Yeah, but I think there's still more to come from Newcastle, our moving club in the A-League this year, both in women's and men's. So, all right, Chief, what do you think of the transfers with the A-League? There's been some pretty good, impressive signings so far, and I think we're attracting some good talent and some good young talent back in the A-League.
Yeah, look, it's just that balance, isn't it? Like, because we've had so many, and we love to see our young players get the opportunity to show their worth in the A League and then get these moves overseas. But then we need to replace them somehow. So whether it's bringing in some experience, like we've seen a few of those clubs do, like MacArthur and like Melbourne City, or whether it's actually giving opportunities for youngsters coming up, it's going to be a really interesting season. I think some clubs have kind of done really good transfer activity and up their team, and others less work and potentially might start a bit slower, and obviously, as we touched on, the situation with Western United up in the air at the moment. So it's going to be interesting. The season's due to start in just over 2 months. We haven't seen a fixture, and I'm sure that's a bit up in the air now with Western United, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. A few kind of, like, when you look at someone like a Lockie Brooke coming back and trying to revitalise his career. You got under 20s probably looking to get some game time ahead of that under 20 World Cup. Make sure that they're in that squad. So yeah, it's kind of really fascinating to see what's going to happen.
Yep, that's right, Chief. I think exciting times ahead, even though there are some challenges. We'll also move on to Australia Cup, where currently Nunawading and Wellington is 0-0. Now, you tipped a cup set in that game, Chief. It's 0-0,
Upset is
86.
on. It's on.
Could potentially be. They're definitely holding their own. In the other derby, the Sydney derby, Sydney United down 1-0. Sydney FC scoring early in the 10th minute. But we have watched a little bit of that game while we've been recording, and obviously Sydney United have had some chances. So 1-0 with about 6 minutes to go there. And don't forget, for all your other teams involved in round of 16, you've got the Metro Stars versus Macarthur tomorrow at 8 p.m. You got Brisbane City and the Olympic Kingsway on Tuesday at 7:30. Heidelberg at home to Western Sydney at 7:30 Tuesday. Cookshill United and Newcastle on Wednesday at 7:30. South Melbourne and Auckland on Wednesday at 7:30. And to wrap it up the round of 16, got Avondale at home to RPL Leichhardt on Wednesday, this 13th of August at 7:30. Some exciting football for Australian fans to watch midweek.
Do we have to talk about the Australia Cup poll?
Yes, it's funny you bring that up. What were the results, Chief, on our cup set?
So if you don't remember, we disagreed that RPL Leichhardt beating Melbourne City was a cup set. I believed it wasn't. Mopper believed it was. So we decided to take it to social media and let some of the audience decide. And it came back that the audience believed it was a cup set.
Well,
So
the majority did. The majority did, Chief.
the
But
majority.
we must respect everyone that voted both ways, and we thank you for your support in obviously helping me win. I mean, well, it was a vote, but yes, it was a cup set.
I don't think them for. More more no votes, please. No.
Maybe we'll win the next challenge, Chief. Maybe I'm not sure, but obviously, you know, the majority of football fans believe with the stats, man. So we'll go from there. We'll wait and see. But as I said, Chief, you might get one up on me anyway. Nunawading, you did tip, and I said Wellington would wipe the floor with them. But at the moment, Nunawading, the underdogs, are 0-0, Chief. Probably could go in extra time.
Go Nunawading.
All right. All right. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for Australian home football. Any other news, Chief, before we wrap it up?
No, mate. There's plenty more Aussies in action tonight all around the world. So we look forward to bringing that to you. Thanks everyone for listening for this week. It's been a busy and a long episode, but we appreciate everyone's support. So yeah, enjoy your football this week, and we look forward to having you with us next week.
Yeah, all the best, everyone, and thank you for listening and being part of the Aussie game. All the best.